Hello and welcome to Defense India podcast. And before we start this video, please do like, share and subscribe to the channel.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Defense India podcast, the podcast where we discuss matters related to India's internal security and also matters that are, raising concerns across the globe. And joining me on the podcast is Vicky Najapa, as always, our resident expert on everything internal security. Vicky, how are you?
I'm good, Akash. How are you?
I am doing perfectly okay, but I think people in Lebanon are not doing good at all, especially the members of Hezbollah are now, I think, running away from communication devices, not just the pagers or the walkie-talkies. So if you have been under a stone, I don't know that lots of people have been injured. Around more than a dozen people have lost their lives. Allegedly, they were members of Hezbollah, and this whole attack, this kind of a cyber attack that Mossad has been able to orchestrate, I think, has taken Hezbollah, Lebanon, and I think the rest of the world by surprise how these incidents have taken place. Vicky, don't you think it's something out of a action thriller James Bond movie kind of a scenario? Somebody's using a device and it is being laced with explosives, and there was a deep spy who went all the way to the manufacturer and he basically put all those small explosives, and when the opportune time came, things went south. So first of all, I want to get your insight about what do you think of this attack? That why now? Because Hezbollah has been using these pagers for quite some time, and all of a sudden, this kind of an attack, was bound to escalate the kind of tension that is in the area.
See, there's one thing, Akash, if you look at it, as you rightly said, definitely an Ian Fleming kind of, concept attack, I would say. But pagers was something that the Hezbollah started using because they were suspicious that Israel would, install the Pegasus spyware and, tap their phones and movements, etc. So this is why such an operation was carried out, and it was very unsuspecting of them. Although Israel has not officially said anything about these pager attacks, but as we speak, that says that Hezbollah's 100 rocket launchers in Lebanon have already been hit. But the thing is, for Israel, the bigger enemy out here is Iran, because they were backing Hamas, and then it's a very well-known fact that Hezbollah is an Iranian-backed outfit, and so that is where the war is going. I would still call it a little bit of a proxy war. It's not country versus country, but it is one group versus another country. So that is how it is happening. But it is showing every sign of escalating, and absolutely no signs of dying down.
Yeah, Vicky, but of course, escalating is one thing, but the kind of attack that has been pulled out against Hezbollah, I don't think so. In modern warfare, we have seen that kind of cyber attack in a very active zone where there have been exchange of fire between the two sides and that kind of a scenario. So, do you think that we are moving away from like conventional war as we have seen? Because now, if we talk about war, it is not that the conventional war that we have seen maybe in Gulf War or in other places. It's more of a guerrilla-based war now. More like that. So, but now this cyber attack, has it increased the fear among other countries also that there could be these kind of operations? Not the reports are what Hezbollah is saying that explosive were planted. There are no reports or something like that. Evidences in terms of how it was all pulled off or something like that. But still, doesn't it kind of gives it a new spin to the modern warfare that your devices, the devices which not just the armies across the world are using, could be hacked and could be used as a potential weapon?
The thing is, if you see one thing is that, when we discuss, the security mechanism in our own country, the late General Bipin Rawat had said that, we need to prepare for a three front war.
Right.
And when he said three front war, the third front he meant was the cyber war. That is one. Okay. Now, this is a relatively cheaper operation, requires very little logistics and extreme amount of planning and, tact and, these kind of things. But what it does is, the conventional warfare is not going to end, but you see, Akash, as, how morally, demoralized the Hezbollah must be, that, you're opening up your communication device and it's blasting on your face.
Right.
Okay, that is one thing is there. So this, I would say, is more psychological. And, the thing is, Hezbollah was looking strong. And then, they carry out these things and then back to back, first the pages and then the wireless communication. And then immediately after that, when their entire morale is down and the Hezbollah chief has come and, declared it as an act of war and said there will be consequences. Israel has gone and hit 100 Hezbollah rocket launchers in Lebanon. So, you see how they played that psychological war so well that, you hit them because, they are still, trying to, they're still reeling under exactly what happened, because I actually rub my eyes at 10 times to, to find out whether I'm reading this news correctly, because I've seen things like this happening in the movies. So it does, it's like, there's a bomb sitting in your pocket and, it's a bomb that you yourself have put into your pocket there. It's your pager, you put it, but you don't know, who has installed what in what device. So, it was a psychological warfare which was won very well by Israel, and the consequences are there because, they are just taking on the Hezbollah, head on at the moment, and they are, witnessing a lot of losses. I would say that this would become a full-fledged war once, Iran as a country, with their army walks in and then, they take on Israel directly. So at the moment, it is one country versus another group backed by another major country. But strictly speaking, on the lines of the pager and this one, it's a clear cyber attack because you will see more and more of these happening, like hacking and, this was another level altogether. We heard
Exactly.
we heard of hacking and this giving away information and this one gathering information on troop movement etc. and things like that. But here is something like which is some kind of I would say it's comes straight out of a James Bond movie, that kind of a scenario.
Exactly, but Vicky, what has now, as you have said, that escalation has happened in the area. Israel has fired, has targeted 100 of Hezbollah's rocket launchers, and in fact, I think US is also ready its air force in case the escalation reaches to another point, and they might have to intervene. But I don't think so. US will intervene directly in the war until unless, as you said, that Iran, will go one-on-one against Israel, then there might be an escalation. But Israel, on its part, has declared the third Palestine war. That is what they have said. So what does that mean for that area? Because firstly, the escalation happened through Hamas in Israel, and it is going to be nearing a 1-year anniversary, October 7th. We all remember that that is where the attacks happened. It's nearing that. After that, it has been escalation after escalation from both the sides, and Iran, has definitely sided with Hezbollah, and they are, somehow, they have managed to create some sort of a thing. But how long? That is the question. Can Israel, sustain this war? And then, secondly, if we look at the US, then there are going to be elections there. It is going to be a very close fight between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. So I just want to, do you see that America, if Donald Trump wins, he said that if he comes to power, he's going to end all wars. Would he able to, stop this escalation in that region and also in Russia and Ukraine?
I think he would be able to do it because the thing is, if you notice one thing, whatever people may say about Donald Trump, the thing is For one, followed an America first policy, that is one. And he had the guts to sanction a China too. And then he brought Israel and Palestine on the talks table and said the conflict is over. There's nothing there. Russia had absolutely no, adventures, or neither there were any adventures in Ukraine during his tenure. So he will do something to stop the war, but you never know what the bargaining deal would be, because both sides would bargain for more at that time. So in that sense, I think he would be best suited to sort out this problem, because the Biden administration under them, we've seen this Israel-Hamas war escalate. Then you see what happened in Afghanistan, that hasty pullout. Then the Russia-Ukraine war. And Kamala Harris, when she spoke in the debate about what she has done related to Ukraine, she only said that I mobilized NATO and those kind of things. But the fact is that we've seen more and more escalation that is happening, and not talking to one side is never an ideal situation. Like you keep on talking to Zelensky and you don't talk to President Putin at that time. I mean, so there is going to be no solution to the war. And I think now, I mean, Donald Trump is very much capable of talking to Putin. He has no problem, I mean, because they are friendly. And now during his visit, Zelensky's visit to US, he is going to also meet Donald Trump. Okay, that is one thing. So I think a Trump would be more suited, because if this scenario continues, Akash, and then now, as I said, it's still just a war between, Hamas is a terrorist group, Hezbollah is, also a terrorist group, backed by one country, etc. But what happens when the rest of the Arab world also start, joining these forces? I mean, you say a Saudi comes in, I mean, unlikely, and then, the rest of the Muslim nations, like Turkey joins in and things like that. And also remember one thing, Russia is not a great fan of Israel. Okay, that is one thing. So if these forces join together, and then definitely Israel cannot defend itself, and then the America comes in, then the NATO comes in and things like that. So you can imagine the scale of the war at that time.
Exactly. The scale, I think, definitely would be bigger, and nobody wants that kind of a scenario, especially during these times when the world is still coping up with the kind of economic backlogs that we have due to COVID and all those other things. But Vicky, in terms of India, because Israel and India are have very good relationships. So the kind of technology, do you think that Israel might have used to infiltrate and to trigger those kind of turning electric devices, communication devices into deadly weapons? Do you think in future times, India could use, there could be a transfer of, technology between the two countries, and India could use these kind of tactics to neutralize its enemies, which are sitting far, far away from its land?
See, there is definitely, I mean, the relationship between, India and Israel is very, very good. I mean, we've never had any kind of problems, but, it has always been our stand, not to, take a stand against Palestine in the UN. That is one. And there was also clarification that India has, took a policy stand not to supply arms shells to Israel. That is one. And on the other hand, it has abstained at the UNGA on the resolution demanding that Israel leaves occupied Palestine. So we are playing more of a balancing act out there, and I think technologically, if you ask, I mean, there is no certain answer that India may not want to use this kind of technology. That is one thing is there, and Israel will be more than glad to share this technology. Up to what extent we don't know, but I mean, it's not a possibility that I would rule out at all, because our defense cooperation is very good. That is one thing. There's no problem on that. Our diplomatic ties are excellent. So that is also another factor in. But then it depends on how far we can go. Because as I said, that Russia is not exactly is a country that backs Israel to that extent. So
Right.
we have to do that balancing act once again, Akash. But sharing of technology, I don't see why it should not happen and why it will not happen. No?
Right. So of course we will wait and watch what is going to happen in between Hezbollah and Israel, as you know the escalation is taking place. For now, I think Hamas has trickled down, and they have there are no being further escalations. But of course, as the anniversary arrives, I think Israel would also be a bit ready in terms of if Hamas tries to pull something like what they did on October 7 or something similar in terms of attacking its country. Well, we have to wait and watch for that, but that's all the time we have today on the podcast. Thank you very much, Vicky, for joining me.
Thank you, Akash. Thank you so much.
Thank you.